Do not assume you'll survive. If you ever find yourself alone in the ocean, do not assume you'll survive. Not relying on the idea that rescue is coming anyway. If you are to survive, it will be thanks to you, first and foremost. But you need to be receptive, sharp, clear-minded, and maybe a little bit optimistic, because being alone in the open ocean is not for the weak. There's tons of things that could go wrong. You start to dehydrate, hypothermia, involuntary submersion, sharks, the storm is coming, psychological collapse. Real people showed it's really possible to beat the ocean and win this fight. The amount of time they survived the ocean is unbelievable, and so is their toughness. Let them inspire you. Most people think of the ocean as a place of calm, and from many angles it is. It can be great for you to swim, great to sail, but not so great to get lost into. Not so great to navigate alone for over a year, not knowing where you're going or what time it is, not seeing a single piece of land around, not having had a human interaction for who knows how many days. Even for the most mentally strong of us, keeping your sanity in such conditions is a real challenge. Although some people wrote history by showing us it's not impossible. Think you're equipped with even the tiniest bit of such resilience? Then keep watching and see if you can make it at least halfway through this video without freaking out. Ready? Start game! You find yourself alone in the ocean, thrown into the water with no phone, no food, no people to talk to, and no tools but a life jacket and maybe a wood raft. Assuming you don't drown right away, let's see what else could go wrong. Since most people think the ocean is a calm, beautiful, meditative place, let's start with that. Let's assume it's a sunny day and the sea is calm. What happens if you're alone in the ocean by daytime? The sun is up, the water is pretty warm, and you're floating peacefully. But for how long? Ever stayed in the pool at noon? The sun's UV rays are super intense. And where you're at, you have no water to drink, no sunscreen, no sunglasses, no shade to cool down, pretty much nothing to protect you. In the first 6 hours, sunburn begins. Your skin reddens, blisters, especially on your shoulders, face, and back. Your lips crack, and your pulse rises. You feel hotter and thirstier by the minute. And no, you can't drink ocean water. In up to 24 hours, you start to dehydrate. Your mouth gets dry, your head starts aching, and you start feeling exhausted. The sun is brutal, and you're blinded by the reflection while salt water burns your eyes and skin. In up to 72 hours, you get severely dehydrated with a risk of eye damage and heatstroke. You feel dizzy and confused, your movements slow down, you start having hallucinations, and your organs start failing. Game over. But then, what if we change the scenario and it's nighttime? Obviously, at first you get some relief from the heat. In the first hour, you start to cool down and feel a little bit better. But soon after, the temperature drop causes you to start shivering. It's dark, and you're freezing. In the first 3 hours, you start losing your motor control. You become more and more clumsy, can't use your fingers. You experience mental fog and can't swim or think efficiently. And your speech, if you're speaking to yourself to hype you up, turns into slow, incoherent mumbling. In up to 6 hours, unless you're lucky to be rescued, you start gasping, hyperventilating, and eventually lose your consciousness because of hypothermia. Game over. But let's go back and change the scenario again. Let's assume temperature is not the issue. Let's assume that the weather is gentle day and night. But you can't swim forever, can you? At some point, you get tired. Let's assume you're one of the best swimmers out there. You may be able to swim for prolonged periods of time. You may be able to preserve your energy and keep going in the beginning. But fatigue is a natural part of swimming for everybody, even you. So, unless you're Neil Agius, who has officially broken the world record for the longest unassisted current-neutral ocean swim, over 60 hours and a half, you are going to experience fatigue a lot sooner, most likely in the first 6 hours. Your muscles will start getting tired, maybe even sore. In up to 12 hours, you'll start experiencing body aches, cramps, and most likely a reduced ability to stay at the surface of the water. Your limbs might get numb, and it might get challenging to hold your head up. In 12 up to 24 hours, desperation turns into resignation. There's a constant danger of involuntary submersion. You are exhausted, you are consumed by distress, pain, plus the fear of unseen creatures, and you might actually drift into unconsciousness before it's game over. Speaking of unseen creatures, let's not forget that even when it seems like you're alone in the ocean, you are not actually alone. The ocean is filled with all sorts of creatures, and not all of them are friendly. There's always a risk that you get attacked. Even after floating for hours in the calm, welcoming embrace of the ocean, you might end up face to face with some people's worst fear: sharks, circling you or close by. They might be harmless, minding their own business like good pets. If so, even if not attacked, the simple thought of being circled can turn into paralyzing fear, accompanied by a pounding heart and panic breathing. It feels like time is slowing down, and all of this makes you hyper-aware and terrified. However, if they do attack you, this brings you to a whole new level of terror. You're either in shock, too stunned to react, or your survival instinct kicks in. You get an adrenaline pump, and you start screaming and swimming desperately, leading to earlier fatigue. Either way, it's soon going to be game over. And if it's not sharks that attack you, it might be a jellyfish sting. Since we're talking about warm water, there's a high chance it would be a box jellyfish or a Portuguese man-o'-war. If you want to know more about the devastating effects of a jellyfish sting, go watch our video about how even dead jellyfish can still sting. But most commonly, the jellyfish sting causes instant pain, followed by swelling, nausea, and breathing issues in just a few minutes or hours. Your skin starts blistering and burning, you get muscle spasms, and moving feels more and more difficult. After a few hours, severe cases may lead to paralysis and even cardiac arrest, making it game over. If you're still here, you might still have a chance at surviving the whole thing. You've made it through half the video. That means you don't get scared off quickly and don't run out of patience easily. But are you as resilient as the man who dealt with the ocean alone for over 430 days before getting back on land? I will reveal his identity in just a few minutes. We have 2 more scenarios to go through. Because we assumed from the beginning that the sea is friendly, but what if it isn't? What if the sea isn't calm or warm or peaceful, but a really hostile environment that puts you down in minutes? What if, for example, you end up in the ocean just when the storm is coming? Storms on the ocean are not kind. Weather can shift quickly from good to really bad. It can install in just a few minutes, or it can take a few hours. But far beyond rain and lightning and thunder, storms on the ocean come with black sky, high winds, and massive waves. You can't see the waves coming, but you're at their mercy. You get tossed and slammed by the waves, become disoriented, inhale salt water, and even get into hypothermia. If the sheer panic doesn't lead you to a total breakdown, not being able to stay on top of the water definitely means it's once again game over. Lastly, everything we assumed so far implies that you keep fighting, that you keep going. To an extent, this means that you keep your sanity and your hope to survive. It means you don't go into psychological collapse. But this is definitely possible. Even if you do survive all the previous scenarios, the shark encounters, the bad weather, the sun, there are still mental implications. When you drift for 2 days or more without rescue, there's a whole mental process going on. For the first 24 hours, even though panicked, you are still hopeful. Someone might come and rescue you. Somehow you might find land and look for help. A wonder might happen so you can be saved. In up to 48 hours, you start doubting that. You start experiencing emotional swings, from optimistic to desperate. And then comes the paranoia. In up to 5 days, you may start having hallucinations. You talk to yourself and to imaginary people. You feel like you're being watched. You throw things away in delusion. You slowly disconnect from reality and head towards a full mental break. At some point, you may actually see land, which can be real, giving you a burst of adrenaline and the return of hope, activating your survival mode once again. In this case, it might actually be victory, or it can be a hallucination, when your brain mistakes distant clouds for islands or land. In this case, the mirage is followed by an emotional crash with crying, screaming, and complete desperation. So, what if none of this puts you down? What if you can actually protect yourself from most dangers and find ways to make it work again and again, hour by hour, day after day, until you find your rescue? You've watched the video so far. Now you absolutely deserve to see the truth. The game doesn't have to end. There is hope. Real people showed it's really possible to beat the ocean and win this fight. The amount of time they survived the ocean is unbelievable, and so is their toughness. Let them inspire you. Number 1. Jose Salvador Alvarenga. For Jose, the game started in November 2012. He went fishing off the coast of Mexico with a young crewmate, Cordoba, in a small boat. 2 days later, the storm hit. He made a desperate SOS, and that was the last time anyone heard from him for 438 days. If he would have been inexperienced, he would have panicked in front of the unpredictable storm. But Jose was a veteran captain. He knew he had to align the boat with the waves. If he would have been inexperienced, he would have panicked in front of the unpredictable storm. But Jose was a veteran captain. He knew he had to align the boat with the waves. And after the storm passed, the game of survival began. He and Cordoba threw the gasoline and all the extra items weighing down their boat. Then started fishing with empty hands, having no choice but to eat raw fish dried in the sun, turtles, jellyfish, and seabirds. They drank rainwater and turtle blood and, when those weren't available, their own urine. Jose knew that drinking ocean water was completely off the table. Unfortunately, floating across the Pacific Ocean was a mental struggle as much as it was physical, and his companion gradually became more and more depressed, refusing to eat and becoming incapable of drinking. In a few weeks, the game was over for Cordoba. Alvarenga was left alone on the boat. He kept talking to his buddy for several days, then eventually threw it overboard and kept doing all he could to survive, day after day. After 438 days on the water, Jose was found by the policemen across the lagoon in the Marshall Islands, deep in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. He was barely capable of walking with his swollen ankles and weak wrists, hair matted and beard curled out wildly. After battling for over 14 months with loneliness, hallucination, and all the possible survival challenges all by himself, he couldn't even make eye contact and kept hiding his face. But his journey brought him the world record for the longest known solo survival at sea. He made it. Number 2. Poon Lim. Another successful story of survival on the sea is Poon Lim's. He was a Chinese sailor working as a steward on a British merchant ship. The ship sank, resulting in the loss of all other members except him. Poon Lim was the only survivor. He survived on a wood rift for a total of 133 days, all alone in the South Atlantic. He collected rainwater to drink and improvised hooks to catch fish, using bird blood as bait. When he was found by the Brazilian fishermen on the coast of Brazil, he had already lost about 20 pounds, that's about 9 kilograms. But he did it. He survived the ocean on his own for over 4 months. Number 3. Stephen Callahan. I'll end the series of survival stories with Stephen Callahan, the American sailor who survived the ocean for 76 days on his own in just a 6-foot life raft. His sailboat got severely damaged while he was trying to cross the Atlantic from the Canary Islands to Antigua, so he had no choice but to abandon it and use an inflatable life raft to find rescue. But he did manage to dive and retrieve some items from his boat before it sank completely. To manage his thirst and hunger, he used his tools to collect rainwater, fish, and birds. And although he dealt with sharks bumping his raft and even raft punctures, he kept mentally stable by creating routines. After a total of 76 days, which is more than 2 months, he was spotted by fishermen near Guadeloupe and taken to a local hospital, where he only spent 1 afternoon. He then continued to recover on the island before heading home. And there's more, but I think that's enough playing for one video. The lesson is, respect the ocean or it will show no mercy. Do not underestimate the risks and dangers it poses, because there are plenty, and they all require thorough preparation. Avoid at all costs doing risky stuff like jumping into the water looking for freedom or not following your GPS that can make you end up alone in the ocean. Always educate yourself and skip no step in preparation before venturing into the water, because in my humble opinion, as brave as you are for watching this video till the end, you do not want to test yourself in any of the previous scenarios. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you enjoyed watching, because we put a lot of effort into it, as you can see, and it means so much to see that you liked it. Thank you for staying with me, and see you next time.